Welcome to the Kick It 3v3 Soccer Podcast, where soccer fans, coaches, parents, and players get insights into the beautiful game. Each week, your hosts, Danny Stratford and Brent Zico Ward, bring you some of the latest in soccer news, coaching, parenting, and conversations with guests who are making an impact in their local soccer communities or even around the world. So let's kick it. And now a quick word about one of our partners. Soccer families, we all know that soccer expenses add up. So here's a way to save at home and help your soccer team. We're partnering with SmartWave Solar, serving Colorado and Utah only, because they make going solar simple with 2 quick online meetings and a free no pressure quote. How do I know? I just recently had my SmartWave solar system installed. I've been looking to add solar to my house for years, but I was tired of the misleading ads and those high pressure, you have to decide today sales tactics. A friend of mine who'd had SmartWave Solar for 2 years and was super happy introduced me to SmartWave just a few months ago. SmartWave didn't use any high pressure tactics. They saved me 40% over the other quotes I got and made sure I received all the tax incentives I was due. And here's the kicker. When you book a meeting with their local rep, Steve, through Kickit, SmartWave will help sponsor your team by covering 50% to 100% of your tournament fees, or provide 3v3 custom Macron uniforms for your next 3v3 tournament. Learn more and book your meeting with Steve at kickitsoccer.com/solar. That's kickitsoccer.com/solar, spelled SOLAR. Make sure you tell them that Dan from Kickit sent you. Before we get started, we want to give a huge shout out to our partners at Macron. We connected with them through their U.S. representative and now personal friend, George Gurkinich. And it's been a total game changer for us and all the teams we work with. Macron is one of Europe's leading suppliers of professional soccer uniforms, outfitting legendary clubs like Crystal Palace, Wrexham, and Stoke City. And with US-based facilities, they are growing fast here. But here's what makes them truly stand out. They treat every club like a big deal. Whether your club has 100 teams or thousands of teams, you'll get the exact same world-class quality and the highest standard of customer service. So if your club is ready for pro-level gear, custom designs, and fast turnaround times from a company that truly values every client and wants a special gift from Kick It 3v3 Soccer, visit kickitsoccer.com/Macron to learn more. Again, that's kickitsoccer.com/Macron, MACRON. Macron, work hard, but play harder. And now back to the show. Today, we are so excited. We got to sit down with Amanda Pearson, the co-head coach of the Texas Spurs women's team in the UPSL. She's a longtime youth club coach at the club's academy level. She used to coach for the Spurs. Now she still coaches the semi-pro team, and she's also coaching for Dallas Surf. And they hosted a tournament for us this last summer, and the Spurs, or rather the Surf, is hosting another tournament with us in a couple of weeks coming up in December. But she has an amazing background, Zico, and man, what a ball of energy, huh?
Yeah, I've known Amanda, I'm going to say for 15 years-ish, and you just introduced her and she's got a title. The truth of the matter is she's way beyond the title, really, because as you guys will see today, the words that I use to describe her, and you're going to see it, is eclectic and always growing, always growing. She's one of these people who say, hey, I'm better at 30 than I was at 20, and I'm better at 35 than I was at 30, and better being the knowledge and everything. So what I also like is that she's a young version of you and I, because she's talking about all this experience, and so much of it fell into her lap. She had to step up and do it, or nobody else would. And it's really neat. You get a lady who's so good for women's sports, women's soccer and girls soccer, and she's coached guys and she's played with guys. Yes, ball of energy, have your ears on and turn at a full speed, because there's a lot said really quickly, and Amanda brings the energy, and she's a great friend.
She does. And if you're used to 2Xing or 3Xing a podcast when you listen to it, you might have to go the other direction on this one and cut it in half, because she's just very, very clear and well-spoken. So it's not like you can't understand her. No. She talks fast and says a lot. But yeah, we got 45 minutes into it and I was like, wow, she answered every question, even the ones we haven't asked. But yeah, Total, just such a blessing to have her on the podcast. And so we hope you get a lot out of this. She has some great insights on coaching, psychology, motivating women, girls to young women, and understanding the nuances between boys and girls soccer and experience coaching and playing with both. So I actually learned some stuff from her that kind of helped me crystallize how some of the differences with coaching boys and girls and men and women. Well, with that, and of course she got to coach. You'll hear about how she coached with and got coached by Zico when she was younger. Obviously, she loves small-sided soccer. It's one of her favorite things. And like you said, I liked the fact that she was all about keeping the sport fun and eclectic, which means not just going out and playing full-sided soccer, but playing soccer tennis, playing soccer volleyball, playing futsal, playing 3v3, playing indoor soccer with the walls, without the walls, learning how to juggle freestyle and do tricks and stuff like that. Just all the things that you and I wanted and see our kids doing growing up, and that we try to instill in them, whether or not they play college or pro, whatever. She talks about how the mental aspect of the game helps them develop as humans, whether they decide to play soccer or volleyball or music or careers or whatever. So she did a really good job. On that note, and without further ado, Amanda Pearson.
So Amanda, to our first question, we've known each other quite a long time, but before we started coaching together and even scrimmaging a little bit together, and before I started actually getting a few weekends to train your teams, you had a youth career before that. So can you just give us the background of your youth career leading all the way up to playing semi-pro, college semi-pro, and now being a big-time coach?
Yeah, I'll try to go fast because it's a really long resume. I'm actually
Hurry, but don't rush.
I played my youth, right, from probably 2 to 17, and then I played 17 to 38 high-level pro and semi-pro and college. So long resume. But for my youth stuff, I was in North Texas. I grew up in North Texas. I got to play out here, which is where I coach now. I think that I got very lucky at the time, because at the time their coaching was different, right? There wasn't as many people in the United States that were very good at their jobs or understood the sport as well. And I got very lucky with some of my coaches. I had ex-World Cup players that just happened to want to coach, that happened to be in the area when I was 10 years old. I had one of my coaches, a Nigerian national team player for the world. He played in the World Cup. His name was Uche. I still remember him carrying me off the field, and he was probably 6'5", and I felt like I was flying. I was hurt, but I was smiling, and my mom laughed. She's like, you're smiling the whole time, because it was such a fun ride getting carried off the field by this huge coach, even though I was totally injured. But I got lucky in that I got coaches that they did know what they were doing. Some of them were right at the beginning of their careers, but I had one of my skills coaches. He's still out here. He still coaches for a club. His name's Charles Grotto. He actually was one of the first coaches to tell me that I could do anything that the boys did if I set my mind to it, right? He taught me a rainbow in 15 minutes. Nobody had ever even thought about teaching me a rainbow. I had Ed Puskarich. He gave me a lot of just opportunities within the youth side for a long time. Quinn Willis, who I'm actually working with now, he was one of the coaches that really made me enjoy the sport, right? The man smiles constantly. And if you watch me, even in my photos, like I smile constantly, and I'll give him a ton of credit for that. So I think that at a time, and then on top of that, my mom played college, which at the time, no moms played college, right? So this lady is telling me what to do. She's telling me how to tuck in, how to get wide, how to drop back, like things that I don't think that one other parent really understood at that time. And so I had that as well, because my uncles from South America, they played pro, I had a really fun soccer base. And then with the soccer base, I had the enjoyment come in with it. So my youth career was fun. I played all the way through here in North Texas. I played for 3 different clubs. And then when I went to Allen High School, which is like the famous one for their crazy stadium now. Yeah. I went there. I played there. I graduated at 17. So I was the very youngest, which I always think about. I'm like, man, what if I had been the oldest? My kids are going to be the oldest. I'm like, we'll see. Maybe it will play a role. And so then I went into St. Mary's University for college. I played Division II. I fully enjoyed it. My stepdad raised me, and he's very into sports. He's a big time tennis player. He actually played soccer because I was playing. And by the time I was 16, I was on his company teams with him. And we had the best time together. And we'll play pickleball now because he had 2 double hip replacement. But he was just such a fun person. And he told me, he goes, what are your aspirations in soccer? And he goes, did you want to play in college, like freshman year where you're fighting for your time? Or do you want to sit and be prepped for the next year or two to play? And I said, I just want to play. And he's like, go to D2, go D2, get a really good education, enjoy your experience. And of course, D2, I got to play with internationals. I got to play futsal. I got to play with the men's team, like train with the men's side. And nobody cared because it's a totally different experience there. So I had a really great time. And then I remember, this is a funny thing, is at the very end of college. So like the last game, I had a sprained ankle, actually huge sprained ankle. I went to acupuncturist to suck out the swelling. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm done. I put in my time. I did all this stuff. I've traveled. I played all over. I played for college. I got to play with the boys. I had a great youth career. I think I'm good. And I was like, I think it's just time to retire, right? Like in 21-year-old, I'm like, I think I'm good. And so my season was over, and it was great. It was like, what a life. This is what they had talked about for sports, but when you made it. And then I had one of my guy friends who still coaches, actually, it's Hans, that I've introduced you guys to. And he said, hey, I'm putting together a co-ed traveling outdoor team. You want to play? And I was like, no. He goes, no, you do. And I was like, I don't think I do. And he's like, okay, I'll see you Saturday. And I was like, okay, fine. So I showed up and I had a blast. And I was like, I think that was the moment I was like, okay, I guess I could do this for another 20 years, actually. Let's see how many years I can do this for. So that's where the real love. I always liked soccer. I always liked it. I had a good time. It was a relief from life. But I think there was a point where I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is like who I am. It's a part of my soul. And it had been after college that I was really aware of that. And that's when and luckily I got lucky as well, is I actually started coaching at 16 with my coach because I needed some hours. And I said, hey, for National Honor Society, I go, hey, can I coach with you for your hours? He said, yeah. So I was out there at 16 coaching and then going to my training and then coaching and then going to my training. And then I would go in college. I was helping with high school stuff, just coaching for fun. So at 21, I took my first club team, and I had already been coaching longer than a lot of coaches. And so it was wonderful. So it was a really fun little adventure. And the crazy thing is that was just like the very beginning, right? Anyway, so that was just like before pro, before semi-pro, before anything like that. That was just my like setup to, hey, I like this a lot. And then after that, I was like, similar to how Dan had talked about how playing with his kids made him very good with his feet. I was training with my little tiny girls, and I was like getting fit. My first touch was getting really good. And I was like, man, I'm getting better by just coaching. And I was on a traveling co-ed team, like just enjoying life. And finally I was like, okay, what else is there after this? What else is available? And it was a good timing, because at that point, the WPSL had grown a ton. So WPSL was coming to Texas. So I jumped in. I went to my very first semi-pro tryouts in Fort Worth. I drove 2 hours. The roads weren't as good back then. I drove 2 hours. I showed up. I had never seen any of those players in my life, had never seen the coach in my life, didn't know anybody. And I put a smile on my face and I had a blast. Made the team, drove 2 hours to practice twice a week, drove 2 hours to games. And I had the most fun. And I played with a bunch of TCU girls and just very high level players that I hadn't really seen. I guess I'd see, honestly, at my college, I was super impressed with some of those players. To this day, I'm like, man, that girl can play. She could hold the middle better than some of these players right now. And we're taught how to do that now. And so anyway, so I did that. And then after that, it just kept going. I was like, okay, where am I going to play now? And so I played for the Colorado Rapids, which I loved. And I went and played in the indoor league out there in Denver, because I moved out to Denver. So I played in the indoor league out there. My team won nationals. The indoor is like my favorite thing. To this day, I'm like that. It's its own sport. I think it's its own sport.
It is.
I love it. It folded for a good while. I actually played again 3 years ago, and I have some sweet goals. I'll have to send them to you, because by far one of my favorite sports, indoor soccer. And then I went on. I ended up playing. This is where I got very good. I will tell you where I got very good. I coached out in La Junta. Do you know where La Junta is? You go.
Heard of it? Yes.
The middle of nowhere.
Isn't it way down south? Is that right or no?
Yeah,
South Colorado.
I think so. It's near Lake Trinidad.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm driving past there tomorrow.
Okay, so I helped start a program out there for the college with Donnie Roboto. Awesome coach, awesome mentor. Started a program out there. There's nothing to do there. There's nothing to do there. There's nobody my age. You were either a retired person or a college person, and me. That was it. That was it. And so all I did was I ran, I trained, I got to play the boys, I got to coach the boys, the men's team. I got to coach the girls, I got to play with the girls. I ran again. That was all I did is worked out. I did fitness stuff with Donnie, like professional fitness stuff. And by that point I was like, oh, I could play. I could definitely play somewhere. So I ended up going, I don't even remember exactly. Like, I was on the Rapids while I was there. I ended up going to Denmark, making a pro team out there and playing. I had the best time. It was hard. It was different, right? It's different culture, different everything, but I loved it. And I got lucky too. Again, so there's a lot of luck in here, right? Because I had friends that happened to play on the Rapids with me that happened to be on that team. So just the crazy, I had friends that I had a neighbor in Denver. His mom lived in that town, got me a job at the boarding school coaching, like just the craziest stuff. So I had a blast with all that. And I will tell you, like, even La Junta, it was one of those places where you really had to learn yourself because there was nobody else there to help you. It was like being on an island with nobody around you. But soccer was the best. So I had the best time. It could have been miserable. I was not miserable. I rode my bike to school, I played more soccer. It was great. So I went and played pro. And then I came back when my visa was up. And I almost went back. And then I got opportunity out here with the Spurs to play on their women's team and to coach. And turns out you make a lot more money coaching and playing here. I owned a house already. And I was like, oh, let's stay home. And then I played off and on I played 10 years with the Spurs. I actually, and I'll tell you more about that later, but now I'm the player coach and it's been awesome. And I played a few other teams in between, right? If they need, there was some other semi-pro teams in there, some other levels in there. Again, just luck. Like some of my teammates were trying out for certain teams and I'd go and play and got to play some indoor. And it's just been fun. And now I'm like, I'm ready. My tryouts will start. I'll start training again in April. And season starts May, June. I'm like, I have 5 more years, I think. Hopefully.
The female
5 more years left in me.
That's funny. So
there's a couple things you said that I wanted to highlight because I think they're important. My daughter Eva, you remember Zico, she was on the top team at United, not getting playing time. And I went to the coach, I went to the club, I said, let's move her down to the second team where she can be a starter and play and develop, because that's much better than sitting on the bench for a better team. And so I love the advice you got, Amanda, for playing Division II when people don't realize that, especially in this country, but high school is not where the development ends. And a lot of players that get recruited to college at the top colleges, at least historically it had been, it's because they were the stud in high school, which meant, you know what, they probably hit puberty earlier. They were probably more physically developed in high school. And myself and my oldest son, we grew 2 inches after high school. So there are a lot of great players who still have development from 18 to 22. And then for you, it was even beyond that, right? Because you
25.
Yeah.
Huge development. And I 1,000% agree with that. When I coached at the JUCO, it opened my eyes even more because I saw development, and I will give a lot of credit for the head coach for that. He taught me like, oh my gosh, if you keep teaching these kids, they keep learning. And it was so eye-opening to me. And my college coach did a good job with that too, but he was very much you work hard. That's what you do. He was great, but he was very loving. He was very motivational.
Yeah.
And you worked hard. But this coach came in and said, no, I'm going to keep teaching them the actual like technical and tactical piece of the game and see where they are in a year or two. And the growth was crazy. I saw it in myself from this program. So yeah, I agree 100%. And I played lower level in North Texas my first few years. First, I was on with Plano and I got to play and I had a blast. And then my confidence grew and I got to dribble and I got to score goals and I got to play a lot. And I moved up when it was time. But there was my parents were not about forcing that ever, because my mom was like, we're not here to watch you sit a bench. We're here to see what you can do, and we'll slowly get to where you need to be. And guess what? If I had never made it to the higher level, they would have still been proud.
Totally. So on that note, sorry, I'm interrupting you go again.
No problem.
And I did the same thing. I went to a small, crappy college my freshman year and got to start. And that made all the difference in the world because I was still developing. The other thing I liked what you said, growing up in the 70s, I had no coaching at all, similar to you in Kansas City. I had parents and guys that were enthusiastic about coaching, but didn't really know how to teach me much about soccer. And indoor soccer came to Kansas City, the MISL, with the walls and all that. And so I went from playing 11v11 where you hardly touched the ball, practices where we're standing in line. You know, that's how you run a practice in the 70s in the US. You're standing in line for 45 minutes of that 90-minute practice. To, I always joke, playing soccer 8 days a week. I would get as many indoor games as I could. And small-sided soccer, if it weren't for small-sided soccer, I probably wouldn't have played college. I certainly wouldn't have the opportunity to play in UPSL, which was indoor and back in 94. But you got to touch the ball so much more. You got to build composure coming out of the back. You got to get composure in front of the goal like 20 times a game, as opposed to an outdoor game where you might only be in front of the goal 5 times a game, right? Where you have a chance to score.
Twice.
Right. Or twice, right? Like 5 would be amazing to have 5 opportunities to score. But indoor, you might have 20 opportunities. So that, and I think that's one of the reasons Zico and I both love small-sided soccer and why 3v3 was appealing to us, because we know how important that can be for all those things for developing soccer. And I wasn't trying to make a plug for 3v3, but it's just fascinating that you said how much you love that small-sided game, and it has been so good for development. But yeah, so I just wanted to highlight those 2 things you said, because that's important, even when the girls and boys are younger, to play at a level where they get playing time and they can develop, and rather than playing on a bench, sitting on the bench on an older team. So that's kind of all I wanted to say. So I really appreciated that you said there. So anyway, go ahead, Zico.
Yeah, what I heard a couple things too, and I've got another question for you. Before I do, what I heard is, this is my description. Your soccer has been eclectic, playing indoor, outdoor, small-sided, with better teams, with lesser teams, with the boys, learning from coaching and learning from playing. Pretty cool. So it's been eclectic. And the other thing, and I think we all want this. It's actually funny. Your playing career was a little bit like mine too. So it's pretty funny, but you came back, which was awesome. But the other thing I would say is it was continuing. Your education was continuing. And Dan brought that up, and you said 23 to 25, but it was continuing because you had quit. But then you realize, you know what, man, I'm actually like better at 29 than I was at 20. And I think that's something cool. It is a sport that people say this about golf, sure, but you're making soccer a physical sport, one that you've continued for life so far. So I think it's eclectic and it's a continual learning.
There's tricks to that, by the way. And I know some of those tricks, because some of those tricks are the small-sided, right? Some of those tricks are, I played a lot of soccer tennis. I played a lot of soccer volleyball. I did stuff that wasn't just 11v11. To this day, my little kids do it too, because that's how you don't burn out. You want to, because 11v11 and 108 degrees is not that fun. It's enjoyable when it looks good or when you have a good game, but it's really like something that I'm not going to do 3 times a week and enjoy myself. But there's tricks, right? I always took care of my body. My mom was really big on my mental health. I never ran into any of the issues that a lot of these kids are running into, because she made sure that I knew myself from a young age and helped take care of myself from a young age. When I was hurt, I sat. And I tell my girls that right now. I'm like, if you have a concussion, you sit, because the next 20 years are more important than the next 2 weeks, guaranteed. And your brain, turns out, is very important. But even little injuries. So there's so many tricks to that as well, that even when I'm not playing full contact, I'll still go kick the ball around for sure. I'll still go do all the tricks. I'll still do soccer, tennis for fun, because it's still part of who I am. I think the ball somehow is a part of who I am.
It's the ball. I tell people, soccer's not running, it's movement. And when the ball comes around, I am motivated to move.
Oh, yeah.
And this season, it's funny. We have that weird grade 8, grade 9 season where most of my players are in high school. And Dan, we pulled out the kick it nets so many times, the kick it soccer tennis nets. And I would always say, soccer tennis or soccer volleyball? And they always wanted it up at soccer volleyball. And so we played a ton of soccer volleyball, a ton of soccer golf, and then actually cleaned up their striking the ball technique.
For sure.
Because it's a big kid. I've got a powerful shot. But you know what? You could hit a 30% better if you actually had technique. You're just big and ugly. But you need some technique to smack this ball, kid. And so we cleaned up technique on striking the ball. Like I said, when we played soccer golf, as you two know, I'm recovering from what should be a very minor knee surgery, but I'm a bad rehabber. And so I did my English accent, and we would golf, and we were at Long Lake Ranch, which, you know, is windy. And so I would always say, we're here at the Scottish Open or whatever. And I would do British commentary. And right when the guy would go to hit the ball or whatever, I would make a smacking like a piece of haggis or whatever. I'd say something like that to make them laugh. And it was so fun. And truly, we could have had 4-hour practices. It was so fun. And it's like an hour and a half is done. It's like, I know. And I was having fun too. Because in the soccer tennis, I would always make sure that I'm in the middle of my 3 real athletic guys. You know what I mean? It's like, guys, just because I can't run. And if it goes to that side, you've got to get it. Remember that, because I can only move this way. So anyway.
What's funny about that? So when I was in South Florida this week at the Jamaican Jerk Festival, we did a 3v3 tournament there. And it was amazing because there were 1,000 people there for the event. Maybe only it was a high school showcase. We had 30 kids there for the soccer thing. Everybody walking by saw the ball. And I can't tell you how many strangers I went over and juggled the ball with. Guys my age, guys older, guys younger, little kids. Everybody's juggling. And I saw for the first time ever, because Crystal and I went over to South Beach for a day on Saturday. They were having a big soccer volleyball tournament. And I hadn't seen that in America. I had seen it in Rio de Janeiro on Copacabana Beach everywhere back in 2022. And to your point, Zico, Crystal says, Dan, you should get in there and play. I go, yeah, I can do that, but I have no lateral movement and it's 2-on-2. So unless we got 8 players on the court, I'm going to be a major liability, because after all I've had 4 ACLs after that. I'm not going to be able to laterally get that ball. If it comes to me, I can still juggle.
Kids, right? That's where I played this year, semi-pro women. I was their co-coach. And I was like, I knew exactly who was going to run for me, and it wasn't going to be me. I'll make 2 real solid runs. And I'll make one if I have the chance to go to goal. Other than that, I'm going to use every single young kid that 18, 19 girl out there that I have, and they're going to do it for me. Amazing.
Yeah.
They break up. So
it is. But I love what you said, because raising my kids, I have a 37-year-old, I have 4 grandkids, and my youngest is 19. We played soccer games all the time. And the one piece of advice I gave Zico that he took to another level, you know how when your kids are young, and their feet are hanging over the seats, and they're dangling and they're kicking the back of your seat, right? When they're in the back seat, I just lined the floor between the front seats and the back seat with soccer balls. So their feet were always on the ball when we're driving down the street. And
good idea.
It is. I know. And then Zico started doing games with Jack. He'd put the ball at Jack's feet while he's driving. Okay, Jack, left. You make all these fun games. And by the time my girls were 10, I'd get people saying, when they dribble, their head is up. How did you do that? I'm like, their foot was on the ball literally since they were 2 years old.
They're watching the screen in the back seat of the car while touching a ball.
Funny. I have where, the rules for most families are like, no balls in the house, no balls in the house. I'm like, that's a crazy rule. It would never be one of my rules. So I just roll a bunch of them out. There's probably 7 soccer balls downstairs, and they just sit there. And my daughter's a little bit rebellious against me. She just turned 8. So this is mommy's thing, right? This is not her thing. So she'll even get on to me when I coach her. She'll look at me like, you're not my coach. Don't tell me what to do. And I'm like, oh. And my mom will have my back. Actually, you should listen to your mother. I'm like, oh, thanks, Mom. And I'm like, and my mom was way harder on me, just so everybody remembers. But I leave them there, and then she'll play with those balls like crazy. And I don't say a word. I don't say anything. I don't say good job. I don't say, whatever. I don't correct her. I just let her have 100 soccer balls sitting on the ground. And she just walks over it, goes away, walks over it, kicks it onto the door for a goal, celebrates, walks away, beats her sister a little bit, walks away. And I'm like, you know what? That is all I could ask for at this point. So she has some false confidence, which I'm totally fine with. She's starting to think that she's just amazing. And I'm like, you know what, kid? Think it, because you will be it if you keep bringing it hard enough and working for it. That's a great idea. I might have to put some soccer balls in my car. In the front, I have thousands in the back, so just toss them up in the front.
What's funny
is right there between the seats, and then they stop kicking your back of your seat.
Which would be very nice, actually, especially the 4-year-old.
Here's good news. I don't think we need a new TV for the upcoming World Cup. We could use one, maybe. First world problems. We have our tennis size balls there for juggling later today, and our 4 and our 5 for the kids. And we always do the stuff towards our couch, which we need a new couch. And so we've been working on so much with the ball in a small living room. And if we have the TV, hun, there's a good reason. Now we need, we're close to need, that would push it over. So I was going to say this. I want to know this, Amanda. One, some of your comments on, we've all talked about this and I think it's cool. Club culture and how you see it, club cultures, and then your coaching philosophy. I know your playing has been, like I said, eclectic. And then your learning has continued forever. Talk about club philosophy, club culture, and your philosophy.
So again, I feel like I have gotten lucky with this as well. So I was with the Texas Spurs for a long time with Ed Puskarich, and I think that the culture that we had there was very family oriented, very developmental. Each kid meant something, right? There were no numbers. I really enjoyed that piece. I moved over to surf this year, and they really try as well to build a very solid culture, which I think is harder with more coaches, right? Like with Spurs, we had small clubs, small coaches, maybe 10 of us. We all knew each other. We all knew each other's expectations, kind of knew how each other worked. It was easy to have a sub coach come in because you knew that they knew what you wanted your kids to do and vice versa. And it was just very trusting. And so now I went to a club that's much bigger. Obviously, it's a national club, but much bigger even in our region. And they actually set up like cultural meetings for us to come together and do group sessions. I've never had anything like that. So I was in heaven. I'm the coach that stuff speaks to me. Okay. I think building a culture for your teams and your club is really that's where the huge development happens. That's where these kids do play for 20 years or coach their own kids or whatever it is. Or even for me, a lot of my girls, not all of them have stuck with soccer, but many have become top athletes in something else or top competitors in something else. And so to me, I think even that foundation being set at 10, 11, 12 was important. I have moms reach out to me thanking me. These kids are shooting guns now for like competitions. Oh, thanks for what you've done. I had a runner and the mom texted me when she signed and she was like, I just want to thank you for the foundation you set. And I was like, oh, thank you. It felt so nice. And so
I'm not crying, you're crying.
Playing, to me, it's okay that they're not playing because they figured out how to really put their heart and soul into something, whether it be running or tennis or the little girl that is the shooting. And I need to look this up because I'm so impressed with her. I see all her pictures everywhere. She did stuff for the U.S. national team. She was a national team contender. And I was like, that's amazing. Right. So we have all these girls that have found a lot of success that maybe not all of them are in soccer. And some are. Actually, I have one of my girls this year, the last 2 years played for my semi-pro team. She was one of my 06 girls. She's my starting outside back this year, and she's fantastic. So there's a full circle as well. But back to the actual club is, for me, it is the big picture is so much different than just winning games, obviously. And do I think that it's important to fight to win so they understand how to win and how to lose? Yes, I do. But if we're doing all the other things right and the wins just aren't there yet, I'm fine with it. And I tell the girls, I'm like, listen, I had a girl miss a PK the other day. I said, sweetie, you're going to take a PK again. And again and again. And I don't care if you miss 5 more, you're going to take them because one day in college, you're going to be in some big match and you're going to score that PK. And it's going to be all because we made sure you kept taking them. She's okay, coach. She's 10. She's okay, got it. Like she could care less. Her teammates high-fived her anyway, missing. They're like, it's okay. It was a great end at the post. Great shot. High-fived her, ran away. And I was like, oh, so sweet. And the culture of these clubs is, I think that I've gotten lucky in mine where they're trying to develop this safe place for these kids to develop. And this place where kids are being placed where they should be, right? Not too high level, not too low level, not numbers. Do I think that where I am right now too, my kids have gotten a lot of opportunity, which has been really one of the main reasons I wanted to make this shift is like, how can I get you more opportunities for your development to help you grow in your confidence and grow with more skills, more touches, more voices. But again, I do see stuff that I'm like, oh my gosh, I would never let my kid be coached by that coach. Like certain things where I'm like, this is not the way to make a kid want to play for the next 5 years. This is a way to make a kid want to leave. I have a lot of kids that have came to me that were ready to quit at 9. That's nuts. No kid should be wanting to quit at 9 unless it's just not for them, unless they decide, oh, you know what, I really love volleyball or it's just not my sport. That's fine. But if they're getting beat down enough to not want to be there at 9, that's nuts. So that's, again, I don't know if it's luck or I've put myself in good situations or just everything aligns well at times or just have a very good outlook. And maybe it's not as lucky as I think, but I'm like, it's great. It's something I don't know. But the clubs I've been with, I feel like have had a good culture and it's been family oriented and player development oriented. And of course, we're still trying to find, like with surf, like we want the best of the best for sure, but they want to do it the right way to get those girls there and boys there. So I think that, and I'll give a lot of credit to a lot of these small clubs that these directors and stuff are really, that's important to them, right? They're not getting the top players. So they're going to take some of the lower level players on purpose because that's what's given to them. And they're going to develop them. And some of those kids are going to be the top players. And it's fun to watch that. And it's hard to explain that to the parents, right? Because at
Yeah.
9 and 11, they think, oh, that girl's the
Sure,
best. I
yeah.
want my kid to be like that. And I'm like, your kid, who knows what your kid will be like in 5 years? You have no idea. They might be the best. They might be the best in 15 years.
I wanted to ask you some specifics here. And we've all heard winning isn't always development, but development is always winning, right? So we're focused on that when we're coaching the young kids. It's one of my favorite things I've heard. You talked about your younger teams are not winning every game, even if they're playing skillfully. You're focused on the long term. They're fighting, but let's face it, at the young ages, what wins games? It's some big kid who can tow the ball 38 yards, right? and so you have to be thinking down the road, and we know that oftentimes you get coaches who don't have soccer experience, or maybe they do, but they don't remember what it was like to coach or play when they were really young, so they focus on the wrong things. I remember there was a stud goalkeeper in 5th grade who was 5'2", so he was taller than everybody, and his parents knew he was going to get a college scholarship. Problem was, when his parents walked up to me, they were both 5'3" and 5'4". So their son was about as tall as he was ever going to be. He just hit his height at a young age. So he was never going to play college goalkeeper. But anyway, so you have to be focused on that long term and the fun. Man, I'm just so impressed, Amanda, with how much you're talking about the fun and the smile is infectious. When we talk about coaching the young kids from a technical, tactical, what do you focus on 5, 6, and 7 versus 8, 9, 10 versus 11, 12, 13? Can you tell us some of the specifics? What you focus on at those different kind of age groups?
I've actually coached, because obviously I like this sport way too much. I've coached 3-year-olds, 2 and 3-year-olds through 35,
yes.
40-year-olds. 46, I think, is the oldest, and
Yep.
2 is the youngest. So the little tinies. So you have the 2 to 4-year-old piece. For me, I've run classes, just classes. I've never done game stuff. I did with my kid with rec, and I was like, I can't do this. This is not for me. It's all about body control. It's like gymnastics, right? You just get the ball. So to me, and I love gymnastics. I was a gymnast too. I love it. But you get to add the ball into it. So I do little taps on the ball. I put their tummy on the ball. I do a lot of little ladder works or animal movement stuff. They're little, and it's not there to make them want to play soccer for 40 years. It's there to let their mechanics grow, and they just happen to get to use the ball while they do that. And if they love it later, awesome. If I was the first coach, they're like, oh, that was fun, and now I want to try soccer. Awesome, I did my job. Or if they just end up being golfers, I don't care. They play chess, I don't care, as long as I set a little bit of a foundation for them. And then when they get a little older, and I think that this is where I think that I differed from coaches a lot, and Zico might be able to add on to this because he did see me at a younger age coaching. I teach my kids a lot when they're young. I don't, and don't get me wrong, my women's sessions, they're not exactly the same as my 10-year-old sessions, but I'll tell you right now, my 10-year-olds can do a lot of the same stuff. We might have to take it down a notch or change a few things, but they're very capable, very capable. So I have my 6, 7, 8-year-olds. I'm big on skills. I think getting that ball under their feet is so important. Even the skill of how to shoot the ball, how to pass the ball, how to touch the ball, a little bit of moving off of each other so they're not running into each other as much. I actually found yesterday, so my little girls this weekend, it was their last 9v9 game ever. And I say it, but I'm like, except for when Coach Amanda brings you to small sided, because I'll bring you to a lot of 3v3 or 5v5, 7v7. Like, we say it, but I'm like, not forever, just for their development in league, 9v9 ever. Then I started going in through and looking at videos of them, because I've had some of them for 2 to 3 years. And I was like, there was a time where I had to tell them where to stand over and over. And I had to tell them where to take their first touch, and just little tiny things of reminders, like, okay, now you step. Okay, now we drop. So I'll work on even defensive movement at 7, 8, and 9. Maybe not as in depth as we do now, but we wake up their brains to it so they understand. So when I'm sitting on the sideline saying it, they're not like, what is she talking about? They know. So we do a lot of that stuff. My youngest group right now is a U12 group. Okay. They still do a ton of skill work. Every single kid on that team can do a rainbow right now. Every single one. I think some of them not as consistently as others, but I had 2, and this is so exciting to me. I had one of my little girls juggle to 800. Okay. So I gave her one of my jerseys.
Sorry about that.
It's, by the way, she's my goalkeeper. She's my goalkeeper. Okay. Gave her my little jersey, one of my jerseys from college. I was so proud of her. It's like, you get this. Coolest story ever. Turns out her grandfather went to my college. It's a big deal. Okay. I was stoked. I was like, this is amazing. So I have a picture and all the things. So then her friend, one of her teammates, she got to 500. I thought 500 is good. I'm going to give you something. So I gave her a ball I actually played with in Spain that I got on a tour in Spain. I don't need it, right? This kid earned it. So I give her this ball. She gets to 900 and something the next day after she gets that ball with that ball. She's so excited. And one of her teammates, she tells everybody at practice, right? She turns around, her teammate, who's just a wonderful player, wonderful kid, wonderful teammate, her goal, she wants to play in the national team. She told me, I want to play in the national team one day. And she turns around, she goes, you broke your record by that much? And she goes, yes. Yeah. And this girl's at 200 juggles. She's, I'm so proud of you. And she high-fived her. And it was like this wonderful moment of, oh, this is what it's all about. This is the big picture, right? This type of relationship building and this having each other's backs and loving each other and wanting the best for each other. So anyway, so we did that. So with the little guys, I do a ton of skills still. These kids can do tricks that nobody even thought to teach me as a kid, except for Zico, which is my story about Zico. And so anyway, so they know how to pass and move. They understand their formation to a point. Again, we're moving to 11v11. So that's been a shift, right? I've plugged in some 11v11 stuff and you can see they're like a little awkward. Space is bigger. They're a little more gassed out. I took them to they played 2 years up to play 11v11 in San Antonio for fun. It was supposed to be 1 year up, but then they didn't have enough kids. I said, just put us 2 year up. We'll get beat up. Don't worry about it. I'm really good at that. And they ended up scoring a goal in something to put them into the semis against the team we had to play again in the semis. But they scored a goal, 5-1, put them through, they ended up third place, up 2 years. And on paper, they should not have at all. And we got luck of the draw as well. But it was so impressive. And the first game, they won 5-0 the first game against a 13 team that was a little older than them, just off of their skills, honestly, off of their skills, like having good skills and having a good first touch. And anyway, so then I a lot of skill work for them, but they're still learning the game a lot, shooting, lots of technique for that age. And then I get a little older, even my group that's a year older, who was very skill based last year, they're more like passing and moving, speed of play, being able to communicate better with each other, give direction. More tactical stuff is thrown in at this point, right? Like how to work the ball up the field, how to reset the ball. And then my older group, so then I have a U16. So these are girls that are high school players that are trying to go. Some of them want to play college and some of them should absolutely play college. And I'll tell you, my philosophy on college is if you want it enough and you put in the work, you can make it. But you can't want it and not work for it. And you can't work for it and not understand how to do all the behind the scenes stuff, which is why I'm here and why your parents are here and why we have this club has a really good setup for that too. But if you want it, it's there. It's there for the taking, but you got to work hard. It's not easy. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, like all those kids could go play somewhere, right? Find a program that fits them. There's a program out there that will fit you if you put this much time and effort in. And for them, they're treated more like my women. My expectations are higher. It's more of what you would see in a college training session. Lots of possession-based stuff, lots of tactical stuff. Their skills, we don't work on them a lot, but we do throw them in sometimes because it's fun to watch them. And it's fun. Yesterday, I had them come with my littles because I had a small group. So they're watching these little girls smiling, giggling, doing all their skills. And they're like, oh yeah. And some of those girls I had when they're little and they still have those skills. They forget they have them, but they have them. But it's more, the other shift that I see at the older ages is then you're starting to really work on the mental game, right? Like, why are we here? How do you fight? How do you finish out? There's this and we work on the mental game all the way through from 9, 8 through. But this age, like this is where you're like, you should have confidence in yourself if you're putting that much extra effort in, right? So this is where we start playing like the mind games of like, how do we reach the successes that we want? My girls did not have a great season this season. Of no fault of their own. They had so many injuries. It was unreal. But I will tell you that when I sent them off to go guest play, they showcased themselves incredibly well. And each of them developed a ton this season, even without the tons of wins that I know that they probably could have had they had their whole group. But who cares? I said, now all we're doing is prepping for their showcases. And this is how I run showcases. You showcase yourself and you help showcase each other. That's it. I don't care if you lose 10-0. Your goal is to make sure that you look good and you make everybody else on your team look good. That's it. And it's fun. They're fun. And then, of course, you get to the women's side, right? Much more competitive, very intense. But my goal still, and this is part of the coaching, like how I coach, is can I take these girls that are here and prep them for their college stuff and make sure that when they get there that they are shining as much as they can. Right? That they had a good base and foundation this summer that they can go in and feel comfortable and confident and proud and go showcase themselves. So I'm still developing with these women, right? And some of them are 30 years old and we're still developing because it's important to me because I want these women to keep playing. I want them to be by my side. I've been there for years. It's nice having some extra girls there next to me that I've known for 10 years. So yes, we're way more intense when we get to the women's side. Yes, our winning is a little more intense. Obviously, we are big on, hey, you get your job, you get the job done. That's part of this. That's your role. If you don't get it done, then somebody else is going to come in and do it. The commitment level is there, but we still do with tons of passing, footwork, agility, possession, shooting, all this stuff that is, we don't just sit and play. Don't get me wrong, I love playing, but if I continue to develop, they just get better in 3 months. And then they go off, and guess what? They come back to me the next year, even better. So that's like my biggest coaching philosophy is the big picture is where do they end up? Even if it's just coaching their 4-year-olds one day, then I did a really good job if I did that. And then continuing their development and their enjoyment and love for the game, because the more they love it, the better they get, and it's fast. So a lot, but winded question.
But let me on that note, I think you implied the answer to this question, but at the different ages, specifically, how do you measure success? At the young age, and I think, by the way, you've answered that question already. I could interpret it from all the talking you've done, but how would you address that if I asked you?
From question one,
success?
please answer that question. Yes.
Yeah.
I measure my kids' success, like the little guys, are they implementing everything that we're learning? So all these things that we've learned, can they implement them? And then when we move on to the next topic, they do forget. They're little, they'll forget. Can we revisit it and it come back, right? So I do a lot of topics. We make up words. I've made up we made up words. It's like my little ones, they kept losing they kept getting scored on the last 5 minutes of every game for 4 or 5 games. And I told them, I said, that's a habit and we've got to get out of it. That's just a habit. That's not right. That's the mental piece of the game. That's not them not playing their game. That's emotional and a habit. And so they came up with a word. It was caterpillar. So at 5 minutes left in each half, you hear me screaming caterpillar. And all that meant was we're not getting scored on for 5 minutes. And guess what? They didn't. Like, it's in depth. You could just hear, I'm sure the other coach is like, what is caterpillar? And I'm looking at them like, this is so important to their development, because are they learning? Are they being able to put into action things that they're learning? Whether it's the mental piece of the game, the physical piece of the game, the passing piece, whatever it is, are they putting it into action? So that's a lot of my younger stuff, right? My 10s, I thought this last year, like I've had them for 1.5 years. So this year that I had them up until now, they learned how to reset the ball and stop forcing it. They learned how to work together better and trust in each other more. So it's little things that we've been talking about for a year that can do that easily without even thinking about it now. So that's some of how I measure my success in that season or that year. And then as a coach, obviously I measure that success in, are these girls, how are they doing now, 20 years later, 15 years later? I have girls that still reach out to me, that still ask me to check in. I have girls that let me know when they are getting married or they are having their own kids, because I started coaching at 21 and my kids are 16. So we're not even that different in age now. And so that's like my long-term success is like, did I make an impact on these kids that will last with them? I want to be the coach that you sit around the table and you say, oh, remember Coach Amanda? I want to be that coach. And I feel like, again, I got lucky with having those coaches. I still talk about my coaches. I work with the coaches that I had. And so that's my end game of my success as an actual coach, and why this is easily my calling. And I think about it all the time. Even like I told you, I'll sit down those cones and I look up and I see the grass and I see the sunset. And I'm like, what a life I chose, because and it came to me. It wasn't like a 8-year-old, I'm going to coach. It was like, oh, okay, this is just who I am. I'm doing it. This is awesome. That would be how I measure it for sure. Is just different.
I liked what you said there about it coming to you, because I think Zico and I had that same experience. It kind of came to us. In fact, I remember, I love this story Zico tells. We got out of college, he's looking for a job. He's, wait, I can have a job coaching kids. He was just like so
loud.
that was an opportunity for him to do that. I think it's funny. I was looking through the list of questions we had to ask him, like, wow, she's answered all of these.
Really
even the follow-up questions. And I think that, we talked about small-sided and all that kind of stuff. And I'm taking over now because this next question is about Zico, but I'm curious. I want to know the story about how you guys met, the influence of Zico, collaborative coaching. How did you guys meet, and what's that story? Because all I knew was Zico said, oh, there's this great soccer player, great coach. She's amazing down in Dallas. Dan, let me reach out. I know she would love to help us out with some 3v3 events down there, which we have another one coming up in Keller, Texas.
We're going to be with you soon. We're going to be with you.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And And Zico's going down for that one because I'm going to be out of commission
Bring Jack.
for that. Yeah, Jack.
My kids
Hopefully get
love
Jack back
him.
too.
My kids still talk about him.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love it.
that's great, Zico. Maybe that'll help encourage Jack to go because I know that heat didn't land on him too well when he was there in June. It was
Right.
freaking hot, man. But anyway, I want to hear about tell me about your story with Zico and your relationship and how you guys met and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yes. Okay. So I'll tell you how I met, and I'll tell you like really the influences that he had on me, especially as a coach, but as a player. So we met coaching at the Rocky Mountain soccer camp up in the mountains in Victor, Colorado with Mark Purdue.
Was that Purdue's? Yeah.
Yes. And who also was a really great mentor for me. I actually still do some of his drills to this day. I done them the other day at Skills. I still do some of those drills like for myself. And what Zico did is he had all the fun tricks, right? Tricks that I had never learned or seen. And I played for a good while by this point. And I was like, oh, okay, teach me this. So I'm learning these same tricks with the kids as he teaches them. A lot of it is like how to lift the ball, different types of tricks juggling, different types of tricks bringing the ball down. And so I'm sitting there like a child with my kids that I coach doing all these tricks. And I was like, these are awesome. They're so fun. They're confidence building. They're enjoyable. I'm smiling. He's smiling. The kids are having a blast. And by the end, I think I learned 10 plus ways to pop the ball up. And I will tell you, to this day, I still teach my kids those tricks. To this day, a bunch of them have. I have a little video I made the other day of me teaching some of those tricks to them. And I'm like, oh, and I'll tell them, like, my coach, and it's funny, you were my coach, but at that moment, it sure felt like it, that you taught it to me. And so that was he was one of those coaches that he made the ball very fun. And I always have loved the ball. So to learn things that like not everybody knows how to, same thing, like how many coaches know how to do that stuff? How many people know how to do that stuff? Especially in the United States in the 90s, how many people could do that stuff? I wasn't taught some of that. And so I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is awesome. After that, we just stayed in touch and we ended up playing indoor together with his wife and my assistant coach at the time, who, by the way, Jordan just had his first baby. Very exciting. And we played indoor and I just had a blast. And I think that was when I started trying tricks, like in indoor, trying things. If you see me play 7v7, you think I was like a showboat, which I am, because I will do tricks that you should not do on people, because Zico taught me how to do that. Did she really just do that? Yeah, Zico taught me, so I had to try it. But anyways, and then from then we just stayed in touch. I still remember when he brought Jack to the two indoor, and he was a newborn, a week old. So we seen him the other day. Or a few months ago, I hadn't seen him since, I don't think. Or maybe, no, I don't think I had seen him since because I moved shortly after. Yep. He's a big boy. And I was like, oh my, and the poor boy, I was like, oh, I know you.
I know.
He's just like, okay, great sport about it. But yeah, so we just stayed in touch over all those years and just knew that we were still all involved in soccer. But yeah, it was a huge impact. He reminded me of how fun this is and how fun the kids have doing things like that. And I will tell you, even in the last 3 to 5 years, I've taken a lot of the stuff that I learned like that and I've added to it or made it more intense or more in depth. And that's a cool thing too, right? And I don't even know if I told you this, Zico, I may have. I started doing, so I was a gymnast for years, competitive gymnast, okay? And you do routines, right? Routine. And so you do it over and over. And by the end, you're awesome. You're awesome at that routine. So in the last 3 years, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do skills routines. I'm going to do every 1.5, 2 months for these kids. They're going to have a skills routine. And so I put together a lot of the stuff that Zico taught me, right? And I do little skills routines. And in 2 months, those kids can do skills that I could not do till I met Zico. And I love it. They're 10. And it was such a big growth because I used to do one skill. Okay, you learn a skill. Okay, move on. Now we learn the skill. Okay, now I'll call out the skill. No, we do full on. And I'll send you some videos of this too, like full on routines. And these kids are doing reverse croix. These girls are doing the rainbows. They're popping the ball up. They're trying around the world. Like this crazy stuff. Cool. And to me, I'm like, no, I'm not trying to teach you to be a freestyler, but if you are, good for you. I'm up for it. But I 1,000% think that the confidence it builds in these young players, especially female players, because you have to remember that there's a time that we lose confidence in ourselves. So if I can keep that confidence somehow, right, by saying, hey, if I can juggle at 800, what can you do? That's such a huge confidence builder. I want them to have that feeling. And yeah, so he's been a huge inspiration. And so it's always good hearing from him. It's always good seeing him. It was awesome for me. Thank you.
Let me say this. Jack has probably put on 2 inches since the summer.
I believe it.
He's getting taller, filled out. It's crazy this time in life. But I'll go back and say this, though. that was a lot of soccer for me to play that long weekend at Mark Purdue's camp when it first started. And what I loved is that I remember, because Beth and I talked, because we played in the hockey arena, if you remember, on dirt. It was incredible. And Beth and I were like, she's a young enough coach that she is trying to play in every practice. And the sad thing is, it's great. It's not great. But you know what? I'm an old enough coach where I can be like, with me, there would be 12. What a perfect number.
Oh, yeah.
How
That's-
can I write up a practice for 11?
But
Everything will be
they-
5v5 and a neutral player instead of 6-on-6, because I've, let's say, gotten to that point or whatever, which is sad. But something, your story that you had said, the question before actually, is funny, because 2 weeks ago, one of my boys came up and he said, Zico, I broke my record. And it was 803 or 807. His name's Lucas. Zico, I broke my record, 803 or 807. And so it was pretty cool. And then with Becca, my daughter, she is I'm picking on her a bit. I tell her, she's got great ball control. You're very technical, but you're not skillful. And because you never try it in a game. If I put you here, if I that, hey, this is for, what is the last thing she had, a dragon drink or whatever? They have
at Starbucks.
Yeah, that's it.
Play for that too. My daughter also plays for that.
I'm like, and if you don't, and she'll do it under pressure, like you have one chance, and she'll do it. And so it's okay, but if you don't go and implement it, then we've just wasted 15 minutes doing this. So yesterday we decided, my son was hitting a free kick that he's worked on for a while. We were working on that yesterday. And then most of our shooting, 90% of our shootings with our weaker foot, quote unquote. So yesterday I decided we're going to work on bending the ball with Becca. And so we were hitting the ball with the outside of our foot, and she got it quickly. And I was surprised. And can we bend the ball, get spin on it, but also have power? And then she just went and started trying to bend it with the inside of her foot. And we did both of those. And it was so cool, because something you said, Amanda, that I like is, a lot of times, and it's funny, I'm glad you said this, I'm not teaching you to be a freestylist, but I can teach you this trick in 4 minutes. And when you do, then you've got this good attitude towards the rest of the practice. So a lot of times I do it at the beginning or at the very end of practice. We've got a day off. This is Tuesday. We practice Thursday. I'm going to show it at the end of practice. They're going to get it. And then hopefully they do it a little bit, that bridge on Wednesday, that bridge day in between, let's say. But a lot of times I'll start out practice with, and the first thing they'll do is, that looks hard. No, it's all flash. It's all bull. It's flash. But you want to do it, don't you? And so I'm not teaching you to be a freestylist, but one goofy trick with the ball, that's a juggling trick even that you would not do in a game, brings that confidence up. So I could never do that. Oh yeah, you could. It's total fluff. Yeah, you could. But it's important. And then all the failure. And then on attempt number 117, you got it.
Yep.
It's awesome.
No, I love it.
So-
I love it. The confidence thing is huge.
Yeah.
You guys were saying something. So I had this, my oldest son was born at 20. I started coaching, and parents started hiring me to coach these Corver skills, which I'd never heard of. And so I would do some of those. I do some other skills from guys I learned outside of Corver. But I had this process. I had a similar life to you, Amanda. I coached 7 days a week, and I would coach high school soccer, then go coach my club teams back to back. That was my whole Monday through Friday. And so my son was 2 years old. And so he would go to all these practices with me. And then my wife, when she got off her day job at 5, she would come to the fields and pick him up. And so I started off almost every practice with Rivellino, Ronaldinho, Maradona, all the different moves, maybe a rainbow, but we just had this, we just hammered these moves. And one day I look over at my 2-year-old son. He is doing all the moves. Just because he's watching all these guys do this, I might as well do something. And I realized how kids, a lot of them can just learn when they're shown and they're exposed to the ball. And I started teaching kids much younger how to do all those skills. When I saw my son, it was like monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, they are.
You know, They are. And what I realized was, it was funny. If I had 10 moves I was going to teach 4-year-olds, and I'm not even kidding, Maradona, Rivellino, outside step over scissors, inside step, or whatever you want to call it, each kid almost on every move, let's say 80% of them would just be able to do it because visually it clicked when they saw me demo it. And I might have to break it down by literally going over a movie, picking up their
Move
foot,
their
and
little
moving
foot
it.
around the ball.
Yep, yep.
Like,
But
you hold my shoulder and I'll move your foot around the ball.
Right. And each kid would have trouble with a different move. This kid might get the scissors, no problem, but have problems with the inside step over. This kid might get the Maradona really easily, but couldn't do the scissors. So we started doing that all the time. I came up with, this is a hilarious story, but I really wanted to get them to start doing it in the games, because it's so hard to get them to commit to doing a scissors or step over, because it's so nervous. You feel like you're showboating. But when you watch a pro match, people are like, oh, they never do moves. I'm like, actually, you're wrong. When you watch a professional level game, they play 1 and 2 touch 90% of the time. If they take more than 2 touches, they almost always have a feint or a fake in there to shift direction. It might be a simple shoulder fake, or it might be a click. But
even the first touch, it's not just right to the, like, even their first touch is a lot of times just a nice touch or a nice move, or like it's their first touches where they want it behind their back, whatever.
Exactly. So when we did scrimmages, I'd say, hey guys, you're only allowed 2 touches. If after you've done 2 touches and you still haven't passed the ball or shot, then you have to do a fake and move, and that buys you another 2 touches. And so that's how we would scrimmage at the end of practice to get them to implement. So I did a touch, I looked up, I didn't see it pass, so I have to do a step over then to keep possession of the ball. And so I would get them to do that way. The funny part of that story is, I don't know, Andy Barty is his Kansas City coach. He was a very good skills coach. I told him that one time, and he very condescendingly, he was one of my mentors, but he could be condescending, very condescendingly said, oh, Dan, now you're getting it. Right? I'm figuring it out. And he knew that already. 2 weeks later, one of his coaches that worked for him, I was next to him watching the game, and he goes, oh, Dan, Andy is the most brilliant coach ever. And I go, really? Well, why? And he goes, he came up with this game where when they scrimmage, they only get 2 touches unless they do a fake and a move. And then they buy 2 more touches. I was like, that jerk, he stole my idea. Didn't give me credit for it to all these other guys. But anyway, so I just wanted to, that's me. And I steal stuff all the time, but you're giving credit to Zico and whatever. So yeah, exactly. But no, I think that is a challenge, getting them to have confidence. A lot of juggling stuff comes up almost as a surprise in the game, because what you want them to do is they don't think about it. It's just, hey, I'm in a situation. What made sense was to flip the ball over this guy's shoulder or his foot or his whatever, or to chip the keeper. But you got to get them doing all that stuff. And then it is a challenge to get them to do it in game situations, unless you force them to do it in the practice. They don't want to do it in the game because everybody's watching it. And you want to, we talked about this a couple podcasts ago, you want them to be show-offs and selfish at time to build confidence doing those things and not be afraid to fail, because that's how you learn. So anyway, yeah, I love hearing about that stuff. And I saw some lifts. Zico showed me, he can't do them anymore with his knee, but I think it was 15 years ago. He was showing me some lifts I couldn't even believe a 40-year-old could do.
Yeah, like that might hurt some now when I do some lifts. You taught me, I'm like, oh, it doesn't feel the same.
He has that one where he would go down and pick up the ball with his knees while he stayed on the balls of his feet. He showed me this one. It was an amazing lift. And he would rock forward, leaning back. His knees would not touch the ground, but he'd stay on the balls of his feet. His knees would go down. He'd squeeze the ball with his knees, and he'd lift it up and pop it up. I looked down and I was like, I'm going to break my back, my knees, my ankles, everything is going to break at 45. He was still doing that at 40. No, you couldn't do it now, but you could do it at 40. Anyway, thanks for sharing. And I'm kind of verbose as well, like we all three are, but I love these conversations. And I really want, one of the goals with this podcast is we break this podcast. We do one long podcast, but we break it down in a bunch of little videos that we share so that people can get little excerpts. So a lot of these little advice things that you give during our conversations today will be broken down into little advice, social media posts and videos that we post online. So I love getting to hear your experience on that. Wow, we covered a lot, and I have to say, you talk faster than a lot of our guests. So, honestly, in about 53 minutes, we've covered 2 hours worth of questions, which is awesome. And I wish I had more questions prepared because, boy, there's so much more to talk about. But so, how many kids do you have right now?
I have 2 girls.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I have one on the way.
I didn't know if you wanted to announce that because that's
my
like
3rd girl, another
Girl.
oh my God.
which I could have cared less either way, but I'm definitely a girl mom and I've been a girl coach. I coached a lot of boys as well, but I was like, girls are fitting for me. That's
cool.
fitting. My husband is going to have lots of weddings to pay for and I have to deal with 4 girls that are probably all similar. So I feel bad for him. But we're super excited. The girls are excited. It's
and on that note, I asked men this a lot, but I haven't had a chance really to ask a female coach like this. We talked about it earlier. When I was younger, playing in my 20s, we had athletic girls that played soccer, but not skillful girls that played soccer. So when you were playing co-ed soccer in the 80s, they literally had these rules where 2 guys, we remember this, Zico, 3 guys couldn't touch it in a row. You couldn't make a give and go pass with the guy. That was against the rules because we had to make sure the girls could touch the ball. Now when the girls play, half of them are better than half the boys. So it's not even an issue. But I'm curious from your perspective, because you said you've coached boys and girls. So what is, if there are differences, what do you see the differences in between coaching girls and boys at different stages, whether it's younger or high school or somewhere in between?
So the first time I ever noticed a huge difference, I played with the boys my whole life, right? And I don't know if I just didn't understand this, there was a difference until later. And I got very lucky. A lot of those boys were incredibly welcoming. I had my futsal ball and my goals, and they wanted those to be played with, which my mom knew better because she bought those ready. So, hey, take these out. They'll let you play. Those boys that are now grown men, we still are in touch. We'll still go kick the ball around. That's from when I was 13 and 14 years old that I started playing with those guys. So again, this is wonderful men that enjoy their kids now. I get to see their kids sometimes. I love their wives. I got very lucky on that aspect too. But the first time I really started noticing a huge difference is I played high level men's league actually out in Denver. All men. I was the only female. Long story short, but one of my boyfriends, he broke up with me and left, and I took his position on the team. I was like, oh, perfect. I paid for it. I'll play. And they had to do all this paperwork to let me play. Everybody was quite nice and excited. Again, they needed the spot filled too. It was paid for, and I was the one there. And it was the first time I realized the difference and the emotional piece. Because again, I played with young boys. I think when kids are young, I think that there's not a huge difference. I have my girls play against boys a lot. Boys play against the girls. The biggest thing that they teach is speed of play is great for my girls with the boys. And I think that it really has the boys calm down a little bit and think a little bit more. Those are the 2 things that I think come together when they train together and they play together, like in those development, like the 10 to 16, 10 to 18. But when I played,
because at that age, the girls are smarter than the boys at playing, and they slow down, and they're tactically much better.
It's a little prettier, right? But the boys are so fast and so reflexive. So then all of a sudden you see these girls starting to use their reflexes instead of think it through every single time, especially right from the net, which is awesome, right? Then you see these boys like, oh, you know what? That girl's not going to get to this ball if I play it too far, but if I play it her back foot, she's going to get there. And you see this growth in both sides, which is a huge. Like I had parents that come up to the coaches we train again, so, oh, well, I don't know if the girls should play the boys, and I don't know it's beneficial. I'm like, I promise it is beneficial for both sides. I wouldn't do it if it wasn't beneficial for both sides. I've seen it be beneficial. I've lived it. And so at that age, I think every girl should go and play men's league? No. I think that I was a specific type of person that happened to, I put it this way. So I was the fastest in my conference. Okay. So with the men, I was middle of the pack. If I'm middle of the pack, I'm doing pretty good, right? Like that, I'm good enough to be there. Do I think every single girl should do that? No. Do I think the ones that really should? Yeah, why not? It was definitely worth it for me. And I have teammates that they probably wouldn't be great in the men's league, but they're fantastic players, right? So every person is so unique, but the younger ages, I think they all benefit each other. My daughter plays with 8-year-old boys right now. She's 8. Her focus level is just not there. But with the boys, she's middle of the pack focus level. So she's learned, right? So it was like this huge transformation in her game because before she was like the girl that was hard to deal with because the coaches didn't understand these kids paying attention, listening to everything they said, everything. And her being not even literally didn't listen to one word they said. to, oh my gosh, actually, she listens pretty good compared to some of these boys. So that was a huge piece of her development so far, like huge piece. We did the same thing with Ninja Warrior. I put her with a bunch of boys, same thing. But then I played men's, and it was this like eye-opening experience because these men were like, they were teammates, nasty to each other, like just like a little bit crude, a little bit like intense. And then after the game, they're like, oh, good see you next Saturday. Good to see you. And I was like, if I spoke to my teammates like that, they would never talk to me again. And then it came to this like conclusion of, hey, but maybe we should on the women's side be able to hold each other to high expectations without the feelings being hurt as much, but also not maybe so intense. It's like crazy. And so with my girls, even, I'm like, you can be tough at practice and you can hold your teammates to expectations. Just know that we're not trying to break each other down. So there's a middle ground where you have to. So that's the biggest difference I noticed as I got older, of just like the humor and the intensity and just how they react and act towards each other was so different. And then on the women's side, with my women's team, we put each other in a very, very good environment. I want everybody to support each other. I want everybody you don't have to be best friends with everybody ever, but you do have to respect each other. But we aren't as forgiving in a different way. I didn't want my girls to go home and hate life or hate a girl on the team. I want my girls to go home and be like, okay, we support each other. Maybe that wasn't our best showing, but we'll show up and do it again. And so it was just different. And so that was the biggest thing. And then the next time that I noticed the big difference is with the tinies. So 3-year-olds, okay? My daughter was and again, I had never really seen this because I coached higher level girls by this time and boys. We put them in rec, and it was the boys were very confident, and they were like, go, and they wanted the ball, and the girls are clapping for the other team saying, good job. And I'm like, what? Let's see how I get that kid to go get the ball. And and again, everybody's different. I guarantee you I was never like that. I never high-fived and clapped for the other team beating me ever. But in this moment, I had this little girls team that I was coaching that was predominantly girls, and then mostly boys teams because all the other girls fell out. They weren't playing. So it was literally, we played 6 or 7 boys teams because the 2 girls that played with those teams didn't want to be there. And my girls were just like, it was not the same. And I was like, I never noticed. And I think a lot of that is like, we teach sharing and kindness and love, and I love it. But there's got to be a point where you battle, right? And these girls, I'm like, we have got to teach you how to battle. So I get 9 and 10-year-olds and we learn how to battle. But I'm looking at these 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. I'm like, so these boys are learning how to battle. I want these girls to learn how to battle too. And so that's when like my daughter started doing the Ninja Warrior. She's in Jiu-Jitsu now. She's doing with the boys. She trains a lot. And I just needed that for her because I think that is where the confidence stays, right? I think that is where you turn 12, 13, 14, you're not losing confidence. But yeah, it was weird. Those are the 2 times that I'm like, okay, we might be different. We might be a little different. I see it. I do. I see it.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah, it's almost how young men communicate is by insulting each other on a daily basis, not even necessarily on the soccer pitch, but at practice. And we insult each other. It's kind of a way of communication. And I did notice that with my daughters.
Of affection.
It is. It's that. And by the way, if you're not getting insulted, then that means they don't even care about you. If you're getting silenced, that's worse than getting insulted because that means they're like, I don't even want to talk to this bastard.
Yeah.
But I did this thing. I think that's the same thing with the girls. Zico doesn't have this problem with Becca, but when I coach my girls, 2 of the 3, and a lot of the girls, we would work on, for example, at the beginning of practice, we would work on shielding just so they could get used to like wrestling. And we would have a very intense shielding drill so they could get used to the contact, the aggressiveness that was needed without being cheap, without being dirty. But because you almost have to pull that aggressiveness out of the girls.
I talk to my girls about the women's national team a lot. And I say, they train against each other harder than they play in matches because that's how you get better. And so when I have new kids come in, I'll have to tell them like, hey, you can battle. You can hit that girl. Nobody's going to dislike you. We're just going to like you even more for working hard. And it's something you have to bring out of some of these players. And again, there's some that just are, and that's great.
Yeah.
And you need some of those girls, right? You do. It's nice to have a few of them because then at least you have some enforcers and you can always depend on them and the girls learn from them. But it's something that has to be brought out of them. And on the boys' side, I don't see it as much. No, I will tell you, I have some skills kids. I work with some kids, boys consistently, and they are a little calmer and they are a little kinder. And my girls will go against them and push these kids over. And I do. So there are, again, all different kids are different, right? So it's a matter of figuring out each kid individually, which is another big piece of my coaching for sure. But for the most part, like that kid not being as intense, I'll tell you his skills are fantastic right now because he's not going to hit anybody. I'm like, then you're going to be real skilled. Having just overall seeing it, I see the boys have it just like in their chest ready. And the girls, I'm like, and we go and we battle. And if you're going to show up to battle, like you have to. Right? That team's showing up for the same reason. Nobody's here to be nice. We're here to fight. It's a war right now. And then we smile, we high five, and we go home. And that's it. You have to get through it. And we talk about that too. I'm like, especially here in Texas, 100 and something degrees, and you can see these kids melting. And I'm like, hey, here's the deal. We fight and we finish the fight. And then once you get home and you shower and you're sitting and watching your show, you're going to forget how exhausting this was. You just do it because that's part of it. And it's the fun piece of it. If you're not willing to show up to battle, then what are you doing? Yeah. So that is a lot of like when I work with the girls, it's a lot of teaching physicality, not dirty. I'm not a dirty coach at all. Like to the point that I'm like, should I be dirtier? Because I watch some of these coaches. I'm like, am I missing something? Should I teach them how to wrestle? Because I can, but I don't. And I do think you do get that from watching too, right? You learn the little tricks here and there, and you don't need your coach to sit there and teach you how to do anything crazy. But on the boys' side,
I remember telling one of my girls, on that note, I remember telling one of my 11-year-olds who was peep shotting the other team, meaning that she would just trip the girl from behind or hammer her from behind. And I literally said to her, look, get goal side, then charge her, right? Get goal. Like it's okay to be physical at a fair level, shoulder to shoulder in front of him. But some coach had told her, I'll just whack the girl, or somewhere she thought it was just fine to charge a girl from behind or whack her. And I've had to pull some girls back in some situations and when you teach proper physicality, the problem I found too is that the layperson doesn't know the difference between proper physical aggressive soccer and a cheap shot. And so they'll get frustrated because your kids are doing because if you shield well, you're putting a player down sometimes. And the parents on the other team are yelling, oh my gosh, it's a foul, it's a foul. And it's not a foul. So the proper technique when soccer's played super physically, super rough, if it's done coordinated with proper technique and all that, people aren't going to generally get hurt. And it's a healthy part of the game. Anyway, I interrupted you there, but I really wanted to obviously get that out. But yeah, so with the boys, what were you going to say? Yeah, go ahead, Zico.
Let me say this too. So Beth and I, our team, when Becca was a bit younger, when we coached them at U9, U10, and everything we did, everything was always combative. It was skillful as with the ball, but it was the game. It was always combative. And our warm-up started 8 minutes before kickoff at U9, and it was shielding battles, and that was our warm-up. Let's physically get there. We technically always did stuff with the ball. The first 10 minutes of practice was individual skills, nobody on you. But after that, every single activity was combative in some way and with the ball. And I've always thought, first of all, we're making ball hugs and show-offs because they're socially individuals and clueless. So if they're picking their nose in public, they're not team players, they're individuals. So I'm going to coach them as individuals, ball hugs and show-offs. And what would happen, what Beth and I found is probably 4 times in the 2 years, I couldn't be at the games. And our girls physically just beat other girls into the ground. And it's, wait, we're not mean. We just, when I say go hard, I mean, there's not how hard. Go hard. And what happened is, I would say in 3 of those 4, maybe every single time, my wife, Beth was approached by a mom from the other team about how inappropriate my girls are playing. And here's the truth. If I coach girls like they were girls, I'd be a chauvinist. But I coach girls as what?
Your players?
Athletes.
Players?
Athletes. You're an athlete.
Oh, I have it. I think that
You're short,
being able to be strong and protect yourself and be physical and play the game is important. I do think that the dirty stuff, the hair pulling, the from behind, that my mom always told me, she's like, you play hard, but you're never there to ruin somebody's career. That's how you play. So what you're doing is, yes, it's physical, but you do it right. And so if you're doing that, and that's why it's always nice when you have good refs, right? Because you always know, you're like, oh, they're letting them play. They're letting them play well. They're not calling the PK for a shoulder shove where the girl goes flying, stuff like that, where you're like, awesome, thank you. But the physicality, it's so important. It's so important, but it can't be everything. It can't be your whole game, which is what I struggle with at times, where I'm like, all you guys are teaching is how to bulldoze. Guess what? When these kids get skilled and the field gets bigger and that goal gets bigger, that bulldozing's gone. It's gone. So that's where your technical piece is important. And I will like go off of what you talked about with technical pieces is for me, or showboating and being like that. For me, first of all, I do think it's important for these girls, especially because I think, like I said before, when they're little, we're so big on like sharing and being kind and soft and loving. And then you give them a ball and say, okay, now hit each other. And that's a really weird shift, right? So I think it is important that these girls are using this as a tool to be stronger and be feistier. And even outside of soccer, obviously being able to stand up for themselves. I think the arrogance is great. I think there's a point where, of course, if you can't back it up, then you don't get to have it. But if you can back it up and you're working that hard, have some arrogance in yourself. I talk to my kids about this a lot. If you've put in more work, you showcase it, right? You let the girl next to you know that I'm better than you because I did 10 hours extra than you this week or whatever it is. But at the same time, I am big on, at the ages that I have now, older, 10, 11, is learning when to make the right decision, right? So should you be passing here? Or do you need to dribble 7 girls? You probably don't. Or is this a give and go opportunity? Or is this where we do our skills? And my attacking third, they can do whatever they want. I don't care if they do a rainbow or somebody said, I don't care what they do. They can do whatever they want. But in defense, we're smarter about it. We talk about it. We have different tactics on how to make good decisions for the team as a whole. And once you hit that show off stuff, it's gone because you're still going to show off. I still have kids doing Maradonas in the middle of the field, but then they're releasing the ball when it needs to be released or shooting the ball. And so that balance is, I think, huge. And when I look at some of these programs, that's what I think is missing, is just a balance of all of it. Is how do you really make the right decisions? Is the right decision going in hard there? Or can I just use my feet? What is the right decision? Should I be releasing the ball? Or can I dribble these 2 girls that are in front of me? And the biggest thing is me helping them determine what's best without me telling them every single time. And I got to the point that I'm like, these kids are making better decisions than me sometimes. Like, I'll say, sorry, it was a much better ball. Good job. Like, what? So
with the really young ones, when we start off with 2v1, I start off with 2v1s at 8 years old. And we do a 2v1 towards goal drill. And they pass it every time. I'm like, whoa, wait a second. What's the objective? Is it to pass or is it to score? It's always to score. It doesn't mean we don't pass, but we decide if that defender is cheating to cut off the pass. Dude, use them as a decoy. Do a scissors, cut it this way, and make them pay for not respecting your dribble. Make them pay for not respecting that you know how to dribble the ball. If the girl's just covering you and not even paying attention to the person that's wide open, maybe that's the time to knock it over. But even at 8 years old, you're teaching them to make that decision. You're not telling them to pass. You're not telling them to dribble. You're giving them the choice. And I think that's got to be an important piece of it, which I like what you said. But it's funny. I like, the objective is not to pass. It's to score. Pass is a means to score a goal eventually. Even if it's a pass backwards, it's because we're hoping that's going to lead to a goal scoring opportunity eventually. But yeah, no, I appreciate what you're saying there. That's awesome. Zico, do you have any more questions for this wonderful coach and player, Amanda, that I so much enjoyed getting to know before we wrap up? Because I know we could breeze for another 2 hours, but what are your thoughts or anything else you want to hear from Amanda before we let her go?
She speaks as fast as an auctioneer. So I agree with you. She had answered questions 3 and 4 in her list because actually the passion brings out the philosophy from the very, very first question. Here's what I believe. Here's what I believe. Here's what I believe. And so I think that we asked, 7 or 8 questions on what eventually became philosophy. We were building up to it, but question 3 or 4 were answered early. So no, just looking forward to seeing her in about 6 weeks.
Yes. I want to thank you guys. I want to thank you guys for thinking about me. I had the best time in that 3v3. I know that Zico knows that. My daughter had the best time, which obviously means a lot to me. My kids had a great time. And so I just thank you guys for thinking of me, for keeping me in the Colorado loop, because I feel like that's something I do miss a lot. I loved that time there with coaching and playing and everything. And I love what you guys are doing. So keep it up. And then I'll definitely, once this baby is here, hopefully be able to help run some more stuff, or even you can take me to the festivals. I want to go to those festivals.
And I think you made a mistake early because you said next April's when I'm going to start training. I'm like, no, I don't think so. I think
No, it
next
is.
April.
It is
You're gonna
April.
no, but you're going
Really?
to be 6
Yeah.
months pregnant. No,
No,
you're
I'll
going to be.
be, the baby
She's
will be
showing.
here.
Well,
So the baby
okay.
is due in the end of February. So I'll have March, April off. You take
Gotcha.
off in
Okay.
December, and then I'll come back. So I will.
All
My
right.
goal will be, my main goal will be from April to May. Can I get fit enough to train with the women? Can I get
Right.
fit enough where if I'm out there, I'm still an impact player to a point and making a difference? Can I fully train with them? And then
Yeah.
see where it goes from there. And if that means I just get to kick the ball around with them all season and cheer them on from the sideline and organize everything, I'm in for that. And like you did actually mention that we made it to nationals in 2020 or in 2024, we won our conference tournament. We actually won it 3 years in a row, 23, 24, 25. And this year we went to
Wow.
nationals and we lost, but I will tell you our soccer was good. We just couldn't capitalize, which
Yeah.
the mental piece of the game, but
Yeah.
it was good. So this year I'm like, even if it's me training with these women, but I would love to see if we could get them there again and be a part of that. So that was and that was UPSL. This is a decent level of women's soccer, which and we didn't hit on women's soccer much at all, but I will tell you that when I was young, that stuff wasn't in our backyard. And now it is amazing what soccer is out there for these young girls to watch. And I love and appreciate that so much.
And that is something I would like to ask you about.
That's actually why
be-
originally I was thinking of Amanda is to
Yeah.
speak about how she promotes women's soccer. So we did a podcast and never got to the first idea I had about Amanda.
It's funny.
And we have an NWS. I would like to hear I would love to hear your opinion on not only local, but US international on pro women's soccer. We have a team coming here that actually reached out to me that we're going to be doing 2 events. The Denver, I can't remember. I got to get this down, but what are they called? Anyway, they reached out to me. And we're going to be doing 2 events with them this next summer. They're our new pro team here in Colorado. They've already sold out. Goodness gracious. I really need to pull up the name of the team, but they've already sold out their season tickets. They sold 9,000 season tickets here in Denver for their team, and they're going to be playing in Centennial, Colorado. And like I said, it's rude of me not to remember who they are, so I'm going to find that out. But I'm curious about the state of women's pro soccer from your perspective. And is the team you're coaching in Dallas, do they have a chance to move up a division? Is there that type of opportunity, or how does that work?
Well, and the UPSL, and actually this is a cool thing. So our women's team played in the fall league for the first year ever. So I've been 10 years, right? Finally, they got fall league.
Right.
Pregnant, they get to play, but super proud of the girls for getting out there. And my co-coach, Melanie Barnes, who is phenomenal. She's a phenomenal coach. She's a wonderful, she's a mom. She's a skills coach. Her husband, her own a business. She went and she ran that program this last fall, and she's done a really good job. And I'm super impressed with her. And I actually played with her since she was like 19. She's 10 years younger than me. So it's been fun to watch her journey now. But anyway, for the UPSL, it's just a really nice league. The reason we actually we were in the WPSL for a long time, and I really enjoyed that. But the men's side went to the UPSL, and they had a lot of support. And so that's when the club said, hey, let's go to the UPSL. The support system's great. The marketing, the all of that was so good. And so that's why we really moved over to that division. And so for me, I think for the pro and the semi-pro stuff in the United States and for women specifically is for a long time, the only girls that I had to watch were the high school girls down the street. And I remember going at 10, 11, and I know I've told this story before, and realizing, hey, they're not that much better than me. They just weren't. And even watching the Canadian national team back in the day, I was like, there has to be growth. Like I know I know what we're capable of. It has to be more than this. And I was little. I was like a young kid realizing like, hey, women's soccer is going to get better. Like I knew at 12 and 11, I was like, it's going to get better. And so now you have so many more women playing, right? Which is so exciting to me. I love it so much because for a long time, I think that women were supposed to fit a specific mold on what you were supposed to be an athlete, right? If you're going to be a soccer player, basketball player, softball player, whatever, there was a specific mold that you needed to fit. And I now with the women's side is these women are anything and everything, right? You have everything from doctors to soccer coaches to teachers to just all different types of women that all different colors, all different heights, all different everything. And all that's doing is giving more role models to these little girls that are coming up. They have more girls that look like them, that have same aspirations as them. And so now you have a huge pool of these girls, right? So now there's more opportunity as well, because you have the pro league. And then if you look at our triangle of everything down, there's so many more opportunities of high level women's soccer. High level. This isn't just recreational. We're having fun. We're kicking a ball around and drinking our beer at the end. This is, we train and we compete and we try to make it to national tournaments and we try to be the top of our leagues and stuff like that. And a lot of them are ex-pros or ex-college players or are in college still. And so you're bringing all these women together and giving opportunity far past what there was before. Because if this stuff had not happened, I never would have gotten to play this long. Or maybe I would have played indoor for fun, right? This is different, where I got to keep that camaraderie and that like all those feelings and working for something bigger. And so now they have all of this. And like we went and saw the Trinity women's team play. Lots of local players, by the way. My daughter got to walk out with them. She had the best time. My girls got to walk out with them. That was such a memorable time for them. And one of them was like, "This is the best day of my life." Like,
now, is that the NWSL? What league is that? Trinity.
Yeah, that's their pro league out here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a Denver Summit FC. I found
So
there because they emailed me.
So I'll have to.
They're in NWSL here. What's that Kansas City, the sporting team that Mahomes has ownership in Kansas City? What division is that? Is that NWSL?
I don't remember.
Yeah, current.
I think it is. I think
The
it
current, KC Current. Yeah.
Yes, I think it is.
Okay.
So yeah, and that's the cool thing is like you have all these different divisions now of high level players, and then there's more opportunity, right? So there's farther to go, and then you start bringing in the international stuff, and people are like, the U.S. is getting worse. We're not winning as much. I'm like, no, we're not getting worse. We've made a huge impact on a lot of these countries. We've had people go in. We've brought girls here. This is so positive. You want this stuff to grow, right? Even the UPSL from 3 years ago to now, the talent level across the board is better. And we love it. We love it. We want more competition. This year, winning that conference championship felt good, really good, because we had to fight for it, right? Our first year was like, okay, it was fun. It felt good, but it wasn't the same, right? This is, oh my gosh, all these teams are getting better. These coaches, these programs, everything's getting better. And we love it. And I want, like, that's an exciting thing for the world, right? So
yes.
The fact that the men soccer around the world was so big and their women's side was crazy. And now you have these men whose daughters are playing and they want their girls to be as good, get all the opportunities. And yeah, so the growth has been awesome to watch. I've loved it. I've obviously been a huge piece of it. I appreciate the women that were before me. They set the tone. I appreciate all these young girls coming up because they're keeping it going. But I think it's just such a wonderful thing to have this many more opportunities because there is talent out there. And I'm telling you, like, a lot of us have sacrificed a lot. Obviously, I've enjoyed it, but there is a lot of sacrifice that goes into it. And now they're getting rewarded for that sacrifice. And we get to keep going and it's fun. And that's the cool thing about my team right now is you don't know what some of those girls are going to do. I have some that are playing pro in countries I've never even heard of. And I have some that are doing fantastic in their college leagues. And I have some that are having the best time in our fall league because we never thought we'd even have it. And so it's great. I love it. I love watching it. I love, again, that my soccer kids and my daughter, we can go 30 minutes away and go watch solid women's soccer. And they can find a girl on that team that they fully relate with. And they can set their goals to be similar or whatever it is to these girls. When I was little, I had Ronaldinho and I loved him. We have the same teeth, but that was not a little girl playing soccer with a blonde ponytail. And so it's a whole different world now.
He had a ponytail at times.
He did have a ponytail. He did. That's true.
I remember the first time I heard one of the women's national team players, she's coming back after having a child. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. To be a women's pro athlete in any sport, you have to time, if you want to have kids, you got to time it so that you can, okay, we've got World Cup coming up in 4 years. This is my opportunity. I better have this baby early so that I can get back in shape.
So the first time you heard about it a few times, oh, she's coming back. Now they're all coming back if they want to. Right? Like now it's not good idea. This one girl came back. No, now it's 30 of them that are coming. There's hundreds of us that come back from our kids and then get our kids. And my daughter walked tunnels with me. It was amazing. I'll never forget her being 2 years old, walking through tunnels with me in the middle of nowhere and then jumping in the van, throwing up her applesauce and my teammates bathing her in a sink in a gas station with me. I'm like, what a life this is to live with each other. Right. And so now that it's a whole different world where I have teammates right now that are having their first kid and they're like, okay, like, how'd you do it? I'll be back too. I'm like, done. Let's do it together. And that's changed that understanding of what the human body is capable of and also what we're capable of as moms. Like, I
Yeah.
love bringing my kids to the fields. I think it's super beneficial. I don't think it's hindering of their development in any way. I think it's wonderful. And they have all these like all my daughters have these wonderful role models that I'm coaching. So it's been wonderful. I'm so impressed with the women just in general. I got to actually meet Carly Lloyd for the first time not so long ago. I ran a camp for them. I'd never met her. And she had just some really wonderful things to say about that transition into being a mom and about even it was her retiring, right? And her kind of making that decision. And so for the first time in a long time, I had somebody to relate to, right? I got to listen to this woman that I was like, oh, like we are in similar parts of our life now. And this is just like a female soccer player that I grew up watching and idolizing, right? From a young age. She's about 4 years older than me. And I was like, wow. And now I'm like, oh man, now we're in the same shoes again in a different way. And I love this. And that was helpful for me. And I got lucky. I have one teammate. She's 46. She's a daughter. And when I was pregnant, I said, I really want to play again. She's like, you can. And sure enough, we still play together. So it was a huge inspiration. But that was it. When I was younger, that was it. That was one girl that I knew that came back from two. There was two. And
even in the late 80s, for me, Chris Herr was this player out of Kansas City who ended up, I think, either NC State or NCU. She married Doug McClagan, who played pro soccer in MISL and MPSL as a UK gentleman. He was my coaching mentor. I remember that I used to go play pickup soccer with her. Her technique was impeccable. I was so impressed by her. She was one of the best players I ever played with, especially from a technical perspective and an intensity perspective. And at the time, she was on the national team call-up list. She didn't get to play. I don't think ever got to actually play in a national team match, but what a brilliant player. That was the first time it opened my eyes. I was like, wow, girls are amazing at soccer. And in fact, she was way better than me technique-wise. I was just shocked. And so that was my eye-opening, I think, when I was 21 or 22. And yeah, then when I had three girls, because I have three girls, of course I was going to coach them in soccer. And Chris Herr was probably one of the people that I looked up to and went, oh, of course girls can play soccer. Look at this lady. So yeah, so I'm glad to hear all that. Clarify this for me. Are you still player coach, or do you step out and not play?
I am. That was my third year player coaching. And I know, actually, I did another podcast and he was like, man, player coaches usually don't work out, which is true. Very true. Okay. This was the situation. We did not have a coach that season. We just didn't have one. And my co-coach and I, we both had been offered the position. We both had been talking back and forth about the stresses of that. We both had babies at the time. Mine was 1 and hers was 4 months. And we were talking, and again, she's amazing. And we somehow together came up with, what if we did this together as a unit? Because then that way, when your kid's sick, I'll be able to be there and vice versa. And we can just even if we each make one practice a week once in a while, it will still run this really nicely. We are on the same page we love the technical game. We love like all we have a very similar idea of the sport. And we love the good, safe, fun, good culture for girls supporting girls. We're really big on that, both of us.
Sure. What's her name, by the way?
Her name is Melanie Barnes, and I'll send you some of her stuff too, because she's a skills coach out here, and she is amazing. Her husband and her own a business, and they are phenomenal. And anyway, so she and I came up with this. I couldn't even tell you who decided. We came up with this huge plan of, we'll just do it together. We'll be one, right? This unit. So we went to Ed and said, hey, this is our idea. And I love it. That's a great idea. So essentially we'll be player coaches, but we'll have each other's back. So it's not a head coach and assistant. We're co-coaches. We're a unit and we work together as one. I have never worked with anybody as well as I've worked with her, from coming up with game ideas, game plans, lineups, skills, up with our practice sessions, like everything. I adore her. I love working with her. She has made me a better coach. She's 10 years younger than me. And in my little girl sessions, I'm like, no, I'm going to challenge them to do that. She thinks that they can. I think they can too. And so anyway, we were almost, hey, either you do this or there's not a team this year. And I was like, of course we're going to do it. And so from there, we have a lot of support in that. Like we have the older lady I was telling you about. She's awesome too. She played for A&M. She was our assistant coach this year. And so we had an assistant. Our captain has been around as long as I have almost. She came in 1 or 2 years. I think she's my longest teammate I've ever had. Her name's Kelsey. She's amazing as well. And so she was a big support. So we had 4 women that were helping run that team, plus our admin, who was a woman, and then our owner. So we had a lot of women that were like, no, we're doing this together as a unit and we're running it. We had the best time. We had the best time. And I will tell you, it is hard. It is hard. There's times that I'm like, should I have given myself more time? Should I have given myself less time? What should my role have been on the field? I was actually pregnant at nationals and I got on there. I thought I was going to die. And I was like, get me off. Like within 8 minutes, I was like, I'm dead. Get me off. And nobody knew. And she never was going to, are you okay? And I was like, I'm not okay, but I'm not telling you why, but I'm not okay. And so anyway, so it was hard. It's hard to balance. And you're trying to make sure you're making the right decisions consistently, just like any other coach. But then you're also like I had to tell Melanie, I had to tell her, you need to start. I'm the coach right now and you're starting, because she earned it. And there's times that when you're a player coach, you don't feel comfortable, but she was the best player to be out there. Right. And so there was times I was like, nope, it's you. Just okay. And she just needed that push. Again, that's where the co-coaching came in. But for us, it's been great. Do I think that I'm going to do that for the rest of my life? Absolutely not. I think that there's going to be a day where I'm like, okay, I'm coaching now. I'm going to step back and I'll play some fun co-ed indoor or some soccer tennis with my friends and pickleball. And I'll get to coach at this level, or even see what level I can coach at, because I would love to see, I love the semi-pro stuff. I'd love to coach higher level with the youth over time after obviously my kids are a little older. But yeah, so it was a forced, happy experience that I have fully enjoyed and still enjoy.
Well, yeah, you seem like you would be a fun person to work with. The energy and the intensity and the knowledge and the passion, everything that you bring, that's amazing. I told you I had some run-ins with pickleballers, and I go to this one run-in I had. I can't play anymore because of my ACLs. I've had 4, but so juggling's my workout a couple times a week. So I go to Lifetime Fitness and a different location that didn't have a pickleball court. So they had the pickleballers setting up on one end of the basketball court, and on the other half, the basketball players are playing. So I walk over, not to the center circle, but the center towards the edge, and I start just juggling the ball. And this pickleballer comes over and just yells at me, "You do not let your ball come on this half of the court," even though they were like 25 feet away. And I go, okay, I'm sorry. And he just saw some guy come in there with the soccer ball. I figured it'd be everywhere, right? That it would go over on there, whatever. And so while I'm juggling, about half a dozen times, their ball kept coming over into my space and on the basketball court space. So then I started heckling them. I'm like, guys, you're worried about me controlling the ball with my feet. You can't even control the ball with your hands. And they just looked at me like, he's right. We were jerks. And the basketball players were coming over and going, wow, you're a good juggler, and those guys are crazy. But anyway, so then I go lift weights, and I'm walking out of the club back to the locker room, and I look over, and of course they've just hit a ball, and it's gone 40, 50 feet across the basketball court, the other side, and I just yell, "Hey guys, you still need to keep those balls under control." And it was just my revenge on them for but my point is, I like pickleball. I play a lot of my soccer guys I played college ball with. I go back to Kansas City. They're playing at, what's that place called? Chicken and Pickle?
Yeah.
Or Pickle and Chicken. All my old soccer buddies are now playing pickleball. It's a fun sport and it's great exercise.
It's knees.
Yeah.
For me, I needed some type of competition still. And that's my way to get it right. Like I can't hit anybody right now. I can't. But this is something that I know I can do. I'm not going to hurt I have to be careful because sometimes I like go flying and my husband's like, what are you doing? Like you got a big belly right now. I don't know. But either way, it gives me that competitive piece of life that turns out when you have it since you're 2, you just need it. So you might see me play pickleball for the next 40 years. We might have a podcast later on about my pickleball experience. Let's start coaching pickleball one day.
I have to be careful when I go do something because I forget I can't do the things I used to when I was young. And someone chipped me in pickleball. They hit it over my head. And so I ran back and I did a jump between the legs, Andre Agassi, underneath my legs, and hit the ball backwards. And it almost went over the net, hit the very top of the net and dropped. But what was scary about that for me, everybody was like, where did that come from? And I go, I don't know, but I almost face planted. I almost ended up in the hospital.
I thought I was 20 for a second.
Exactly. So I can't do competitive stuff except for auto racing because my body just can't do what my mind says. Okay, we have to make this work. You have to win this moment, Dan. Yeah. And it's no,
You can wake up tomorrow,
Chill.
actually.
Yeah.
Exactly. I don't want to be in the hospital. But that's why all the old guys at the track, when I go to the racetrack, they're all older than me. It's a bunch of old retired engineers racing their cars at the racetrack. It's something we can still get better at our age. But pickleball, yeah, that's it's more intense than just ping pong. I think that's why it's popular. You don't have to move as much as tennis, but you
Yeah.
don't feel like you're playing ping pong. You feel like you're playing something
sport.
kind of in between. That's just a
Yeah.
real sport. You're not the
I
ping
love
pong's not a
it.
real sport, but yeah.
Well,
I'll
yeah,
bet you're amazing at it. I'll
I
bet
like
you're
it.
gonna be
I'll get better.
she's gonna be a national team pickleballer in the over 40 league.
That'll be my next school. They have more goals.
Mark my words. There's gonna be a national championship, and we're gonna be the over 40 women's pickleball or co-ed, and
Sponsored by
Amanda's playing
Ticket
for the
33.
championship.
Well,
All right. Oh
thank
my
you
gosh, I
guys
love.
so much. I really appreciate you
you.
guys having me.
Yeah, we loved hearing about you. Zico, anything else you want to throw in before we go? I know I'm so bad at dominating conversations.
Nope. I don't think anybody dominated this one. I think we all enjoy talking about soccer and love talking soccer and philosophy and youth. Nope. I will see you in 6 weeks, Amanda.
Sounds good. Have a good day. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
We'll see you out in Keller, Texas. Take care. Go love those kids.
I'll be there. Okay, bye.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Kick It 3v3 Soccer podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube at Kick It 3v3 Soccer or your favorite podcast platform. Follow us on Facebook at Kick It 3v3 and Instagram at Kick It 3v3 Soccer. And for the latest schedules and information about 3v3 action throughout the U.S., visit kickitsoccer.com. Big shout out to our sponsors, Macron and SmartWave Solar. We couldn't do all this without you. And of course, our Kick It 3v3 customers. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for you and the children, the parents, the families, the coaches that enjoy Kick It 3v3 soccer. Until next time, keep the ball moving, and we'll see you on the pitch.
And now a quick word about one of our partners.
Hey, Kick It 3v3 soccer fans. It's Danny here with a quick shout out and an amazing offer from our partners at Macron. If you don't know Macron yet, they're one of the largest suppliers of team uniforms to European clubs like Crystal Palace, Stoke City, and the famous Wrexham AFC. In fact, they've been expanding across the U.S. with a fantastic production facility in Connecticut. Zico and I got to visit the Connecticut facility personally, where we met with Alan and the production team. And let me tell you, they treat every club like champions. Whether you've got a couple hundred teams in your organization or thousands, they'll treat you like you're a big deal. It's that top-notch customer service that won us over. And thanks to folks like George Gurkinich, their U.S. rep, top-notch customer service is expected and delivered 100% of the time. If you mention Kick It 3v3 when you meet with George, and if you are a qualified prospect meeting with and accepting a proposal from Macron, your entire club will receive 10% off of the next Kick It 3v3 event you attend. So if your club needs high quality gear and a partner who truly cares, check out Macron. They are elevating the game for everyone.
And now a quick word about one of our partners.
Soccer families, we all know that soccer expenses add up. So here's a way to save at home and help your soccer team. We're partnering with SmartWave Solar, serving Colorado and Utah only, because they make going solar simple with 2 quick online meetings and a free no pressure quote. How do I know? I just recently had my SmartWave solar system installed. I'd been looking to add solar to my house for years, but I was tired of the misleading ads and those high pressure, you have to decide today sales tactics. A friend of mine who'd had SmartWave solar for 2 years and was super happy introduced me to SmartWave just a few months ago. SmartWave didn't use any high pressure tactics. They saved me 40% over the other quotes I got and made sure I received all the tax incentives I was due. And here's the kicker. When you book a meeting with their local rep, Steve, through Kickit, SmartWave will help sponsor your team by covering 50% to 100% of your tournament fees, or provide 3v3 custom Macron uniforms for your next 3v3 tournament. Learn more and book your meeting with Steve at kickitsoccer.com/solar. That's kickitsoccer.com/solar, spelled SOLAR. Make sure you tell them that Dan from Kickit sent you.